All right, and I show we are live now. So welcome everybody to our latest GuildifyCon panel. This is going to be called Writer's Block. So what now? We're going to be talking all about the things that we experience as authors when writer's block hits. What do we do to stop that? What do we do to counteract it? How do we get through? Things like that. So for anybody who has any questions at any time, feel absolutely free to drop those into the Facebook chat. We will get to those and we will try to answer as many of them as we possibly can. I want to go ahead and begin and end today by letting each of our esteemed panelists here plug themselves in with some of the stuff they're working on, things they're excited about coming up. So, Akib, we'll go ahead and start with you. What do you have coming up, and what are you really getting excited about to share with us?
Yeah, my name's Akib Ali, obviously, also known as Ali Creed. I've been writing on Royal Road for about a year now. I published my first book a few months ago. I think it was in June. It was Rekindle Project Origins, and I've got the second part for that coming out very soon, which will be next month on the 23rd of November. Um, and I'm also working on a new series which will be coming out in February. Um, but I'm still planning that, so I'll hand it over to someone else now.
All right, Travis, how about we move to you? Sorry you got stuck with me for a second time today, but we're still very happy that you came to join us.
I'm Travis Deverell, author of He Who Fights with Monsters, and I've done enough of these panels that I should be better at self promotion by now, but I'm really not. I have a book series. Please buy it. The next one comes out um, next month. Don't start with that one. It's book 10. That would not make a lot of sense. Like, context is important. Start with book 1. It's okay.
All right, thanks, Travis. Sean, why don't you take us off to some what you have coming up and what you're excited about? Don't forget you're on mute.
Sorry. So I literally moments before jumping on the camera uploaded another chapter to Patreon of a project that I'm really excited for because it's a little different. I am writing another one of my books under my pen name to fulfill a contract that I have, but I am changing it up a little bit. So this will have a little bit of cultivation with a system, still an isekai, Crystal Core. You can check it out at the end of November. So that's when it'll hit Amazon.
Perfect. Thanks, Sean. And over to the next. I believe it was described as a sim thinking about a planet. Demi, how about you give us what you've got going on and what you're excited about?
Hi, I'm Dimitris Gergiris. I've written the series Apokosmos and The Boy Who Killed God, and more recently, Physics of the Apocalypse. I just realized that book three, I just saw in the calendar that book three is coming out tomorrow. And the first audiobook, which is, I think, 28 hours long, comes out in the 14th of November. But that is all news for me because I am outlining my next series, which is going to be something like a Magic Academy. But I want to focus more on the actual courses, and it's so much fun writing. I had forgotten how much fun it is writing. Oh yeah, and yeah, and I started a YouTube channel where I make videos about what I do as an author and a publisher on the daily. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm really, really excited to hear that you've got something coming out so soon. That's always exciting to see happen. And you're always great to have a new thing coming out like that. So again, we're going to be talking about writer's block. So now what? I know everybody who writes experiences writer's block at some point in time. It's almost impossible to get around that. But I wanted to know, when you experience writer's block, what are some of the tips and tricks that you use to get past that and move yourself on to the next portion of the story? Akib, I'll pass it off to you first.
Yeah, so I have experienced writer's block before. The way that I normally go through it is I try and write down in bullet points what I want from the chapter. I normally write chapter by chapter. I'm not a planner, so I don't have anything there. I'm more of a pantser. Um, yeah, I don't recommend it to anyone. It's very hard work. But yeah, I normally just write down in bullet points what I want from the chapter. If I feel like my words are not coming out, I normally just go outside of the house, go for a walk, change the scenery. It normally helps. Try to clear your mind. Maybe just relax for a bit. And I normally find that I work better under pressure. So I try and find a way to set myself a deadline, and I try and work towards that deadline and sort of, try my best to get things done in a timely manner. That's normally what I do.
All right. Travis, how about we pass it to you next?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I have an odd relationship with a writer's block, I think, in that I don't so much get writer's block as kind of writer's crap, where, if I'm not feeling it, it'll come out slow and not very good. But generally, I just write through it. The thing, like when I first started out, I was doing 5 chapters a week. So that's, a chapter every weekday. And that's, pretty common for some of the big serial fiction writers. And you can't really just say, no, I'm not feeling it. But for me, it's usually about writing through it. So if I'll, because you can just write, you can sit down and write, and it can be terrible and it can be wrong, but you can just put god awful words onto the page. And then you can chuck them or revise until it's actually something worthwhile or whatever. But I think the worst thing to do if you feel blocked is to stop trying to write. In terms of like the pantser versus planner thing, I think planners have a much better time with this. I'm sort of a pantser by nature, but I find if I just let myself go completely free, I end up getting lost in the weeds and, tearing off on tangents. So I've learned to become sort of more of a planner, but in a very bare bones kind of way. So I can just head towards my end goal in a very free form manner. But I always know that there's, that roadmap that I can get myself back on track. And much like Aki was saying, there's, the idea of just sort of planning out what I want from a chapter really helps. So it's like, I need to do this and I'll take a shot at it. And, maybe it'll be crap, but, I find if you just write enough, eventually you get all that gunk out of your system.
All right. Perfect. Thanks, Travis. Sean, how about you? What kind of things do you normally do when you get writer's block?
Okay, so I am not a healthy model for how to deal with writer's block. I have heard a discussion about writer's block in several groups. In fact, one earlier today. What they said is probably far more healthy, but I'm going to tell you what I do. I have several variations. Like what's been said, I am very much a pantser. I have what I call a roadmap, like where the story starts, where it ends, and if there's any, we're driving by the Grand Canyon road, kind of landmark that I know has to happen in it, I've got that listed. Otherwise, it just goes where it goes. And I'm just the chapter I just finished writing did not end at all like how I thought it was going to end. And the characters did something different because I'm scribing what the characters tell me, those voices in the back of my head. And no, I haven't been to a psychiatrist for that. But seriously, what I do when I can't write is I have a couple different strategies. I have the benefit of having different stories. So if I'm not feeling one, maybe I can write another one. That, however, leads to another problem because it leads to the problem that the story that I need to be writing because of a deadline, I'm not writing and I'm doing something else. And I end up having to write a book in 13 days or something like that. And that's never an ideal solution. I also am unhealthily comfortable with berating myself. I turn around and show you the lashes, where I beat myself. But
Okay, this may be
I'm
shifting
one of
towards
those.
a
I
different
kind of
panel.
go ahead.
This may be shifting towards a different kind of panel.
I just sit down and I force myself to put words out. So if the goal is 5,000 words that day, then if it takes me 10 hours to get that, it takes me 10 hours. If it takes me 14 hours, it takes me 14 hours. Like Travis said, they may not always be the best words when I force them out like that. So sometimes I have to come back and say, nope, 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 nope. And I only use 2,000 of that 5,000 words, but at least I got the 5,000 out. I also, however, look at my writing as a month to month and a week to week thing, not a daily thing. So if my goal is to get 40,000 words a week in, then if I have a day where I get 3,000, then I'm going to have another day where I get 10,000, and it balances out. So.
Excellent. Yep, it's still an interesting way to handle some of those things. And don't worry, Sean, we will make absolutely sure that next year we include you for the 50 Shades of Lit RPG panel, so that we can be sure to get some more info on that. How about you, Demi? Demi, we'll throw it over to you for things that you do when you get writer's block.
Writer's block can be a weird thing, right? Because I don't think there is another profession that has such an expression. Like, you don't hear lawyer's block or like painter's block or whatever. So it I don't believe it has to do with what we are doing as creatives. It has more to do with what is happening in our life. So when I'm not into writing, let's say writer's block, I try to identify why this is happening and what I would have done if I was doing a 9-to-5 job. I mean, I would still need to work, right? But I changed my 9-to-5 job to write because I don't want to do that shit anymore. I want to do what I want to do. So maybe I am missing sleep. Maybe I need to take a shower. Maybe I need to eat. I try to take care of my body first. And also, I think you get less writer's block if you, let's say, if you have a healthy attitude towards writing, because as much as successful as Sean is, because I know that he writes so many words. I don't know anyone who writes more words than Sean. I could not do it. I do not have the fortitude to to sit on the desk for 14 hours. I would just let's say quit or take a break. So I try to see this as if it's not, if the car is not moving, I would not go behind and start pushing it. The idea behind this, at least in my perspective, is that if I treat myself, let's say, carefully, if I take care of how I'm performing this week, maybe I will perform better next week. And I don't know. It has worked so far for me. I mean, in terms of I'm not getting a writer's block that much anymore, but also I'm not performing as Sean is, right? So there are trade-offs. Also, all this is coming from a person who is very much into outlining. So I think it's much easier to navigate what I want to do creatively once I have already done the most, let's say, thinking intensive part.
That's understandable. That makes some good sense. So a couple of you have mentioned the. Oh, go ahead, Travis.
So I completely agree with the advantages of outlining, because I tend to outline a lot more heavily closer to where I'm at in terms of writing a book. Well, I'll have my next book outlined a lot better than the next ones down the line. But if you sit down to write for the day, and instead of thinking, what am I going to write today, you're thinking, okay, so this is what I'm going to write today. then it's just a lot easier to get up and running.
Excellent idea. I know that I have trouble personally with outlining anything because I just want to sit in there and do it. But it's definitely more helpful than just running loose and letting things come wild and hope that it all works out in the end. So a couple of you have mentioned the stopping and letting it be for a while, taking care of yourself, taking a walk, getting some clear heads. Do you ever feel like when you do that it maybe throws off your flow a little bit in any way, shape, or form? I know that I've experienced that in the past where sometimes I'm like, I just need to walk away for a little bit, and I come back and I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I was in the same group I was, 2 hours ago or whenever I come back to it. Demi, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, so there is this book I read recently. I think it's called Relax, something like that. So essentially, there is this idea that when your head is not thinking of a problem actively, doesn't mean that you're not thinking about it at all. It's like, so the example I like to use is when you have a song title on the tip of your tongue, but you can't remember it. But you're sure that if you leave it rest for a few hours, like in 2 hours, oh yeah, that was it. So your brain will continue, mulling over these issues. Or if you're stuck somewhere, if your characters are stuck somewhere in the story and you don't know how to handle this, it will come to you. So taking a walk. Also, this is not me. This is coming from the book again. Taking a walk will. It helps you physically, and helping your body also helps your mind. So it will, in a sense, accelerate the process of solving this issue.
It's very interesting. That would definitely explain why I've woken up at 3:00 in the morning sometimes and just screamed a random word, but it was something I was thinking about earlier in the day. I know we've all had those. You're laying in bed and all of a sudden what you were trying to say 2 hours ago comes to you.
Or the best ideas come in the bathroom, in the shower, and all that. This is because of that, because your mind keeps working on it, and when you're in the bathroom, there's not really much else to do, right?
Yeah, a little bit more physical way of getting rid of writer's block, so if you will.
I agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sean. No, go ahead, Sean.
I was just going to say I agree with that. There are complications that occur. If I were a single guy, I would only be responsible for myself. So I can't tell you how many times I wake up in the morning and I've dreamed the solution to whatever the next scene is, but the kids have to get ready for school. So I don't get to sit down immediately and do that, or whatever it may be. Okay. I may not be feeling it in the afternoon. So maybe I decide sitting here and staring at the screen isn't getting me anywhere. So I get up and you're right, I do something. I watch an episode of that new One Piece live action show, which has been kind of enjoyable for me, or whatever it is that I do. But when 6 o'clock, 5:30, whatever rolls around, it's dinner time with the family, and it can be hard to get back to it after that. So each individual, and so everybody who's hearing this, I don't want you to think that there's one size fits all for these solutions. Your life is going to impact how those solutions work. And again, I'm not touting me as a healthy example. I'm very Gen X. I'm very much, your worth is defined by your performance and what you do. I know it's unhealthy, but it's still a hard thing to strip out of my hard wiring. If you are able to align your life in a way that it allows you to follow that advice of stop, take care of yourself, do these things, you're going to be better off for it. If, however, you have a compartmentalized period of time to write, you're going to have to explore other techniques. And as we go on, I can talk about other things that I've tried to do during that period, but maybe let Travis continue from here.
Okay, so the first thing, Sean, get a notepad and pen and put it on your bedside table, for God's sake. Like it's not that hard for it. No, because when I have just sort of random ideas strike me, I know I'm going to forget them, so I just bolt to just scribble down a quick note immediately. so I can get back to whatever I was actually doing. But yeah, so I definitely agree with Demi about the value of breaks and how, the things that you're processing. When you're sitting down, you try to force them out, they're not going to come. But, then, you're taking a walk or you're having a shower, your mind and body's relaxing. And then all of those things you've been trying to fit suddenly just snap into place. And that's when you need to go find the notepad that you. But I like to take a lot of breaks while I'm working. I will spend most of my day in front of my computer, if it's taking a long time. But I basically never take breaks when I'm on a good run. And I'm blurting out to them, but sometimes you'll have those days where you're forcing a chapter out, like you need like literary bran. It's just not coming. It's just rough. You're sitting on the throne, but and then that's when I take my breaks and sort of hope stuff gels, and it'll just be like I'll take half hour and I'll play a video game or something. But some days it's just it's harder to go, but you can get there if you keep putting in the effort. But that's when breaks are very valuable. But if I'm on a run, I'll just sit there and I will not stop. And then I, eventually finish and realize that I haven't eaten in like 9 hours, and I very, very much need some food and a beverage.
Excellent. Akib, how about you?
So yeah, with me, what I try to do is to get, for example, if I've gone for a walk and I want to get back into writing, I normally just sit down, take in a few deep breaths, and a lot of it's to do with like your personality, your attitude that you're putting into your work. If you feel lazy, you'll end up writing something that's lazy. If you don't feel like writing, normally I try to change my personality where I try and get myself excited to write, because at the end of the day we want to enjoy what we do. We're passionate about what we do, and if I feel lazy, I know my chapter's not going to be there. So I normally just try and get myself excited, try and change my personality to suit the situation where I want to get them words out on the page. And as Travis said, when you're on a roll, you just carry on, don't stop. Even if you need to eat. Normally, if I'm on a roll, I just carry on. And then if I don't feel like writing, I just take a break or I go do something to get myself relaxed. Also, I read somewhere, I try and implement this in my own writing, where, for example, if you work for 25 minutes, try and take 5 minutes rest, and you'll see that your productivity increases. I don't know if any of you have tried that before, but for me, it does work. But yeah, that's my advice for that. So I'll transfer that over back to you.
Okay.
Writing sprints, that's what you're talking about there. So, I mean, there's plenty of groups that will actually do that with you, or you can do them by yourself. I agree. Sometimes when I am having trouble, I will do 20-minute writing sprints, followed by supposedly 10 minutes off. Sometimes it's 20 minutes off, and sometimes I'm just blown away by the end, how much productivity you can get out of that. But it doesn't work for me all the time. Variation seems to be the key.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I've seen some people implementing those writer sprints in groups together. It's something that's also a fun way to maximize some of your productivity, is to make it a competition. Reach out to another author who is in the middle of writing a book too, and just have a little bit of a fun, a competitive spirit about how many words did you write today, how many words did you write this week, how many words did you write this month, whatever the case is, and get you into a little bit of a, sometimes we're driven to win a competition if we have it against somebody else, some of our peers. So I've seen that work as well. So all great ideas, wonderful ideas. So Kyle had a question for us that asked, do you jump ahead to another part of the book to get out of the stage of writer's block? I know this is kind of one of those odd things that not every author does by any means. I know that mad bastard Matt Denneman does this, where he hops all over the place. I interviewed him previously as well. But not everybody tends to be able to move into that. Have any of you ever tried jumping ahead to a different chapter, something you know is going to happen later on, to do that as well? If anybody would like to, if anybody does do that, they'd like to explain it. I know it's not exactly a long-winded answer. It's kind of a yes or no. Has anybody ever tried that before?
No, I stay away from that.
What about you, Travis?
No. The only time I've ever done that was actually the day my dad died. I just needed to get out of my own headspace, and so I just looked forward to a chapter that I had coming up in the future that was sort of like fun and light and something I could bury myself in, and so I just went ahead and I wrote that out. And that was sort of the only time I've ever sort of jumped out of order in my whole series.
Okay, Sean?
Well, not per se like that, but sometimes I jump ahead and write the epilogue of a book. I usually have to make sure that I'm far enough in that I know exactly where it's going to end. But sometimes that can actually break me out of my quagmire, and that's usually happens during the slowest part of a book, which is the middle for me. The beginning is very easy. The end is usually a very hyped up, exciting set of scenes. So it's the middle that I slow down. Once I get there and I know where it's going to end, sometimes writing the epilogue will cue me in, and sort of then I regain my focus.
Okay. And Demi, how about you?
No, I would be completely lost. At one point, I think I outlined 2 books, so book 2 and book 3 of a series. And when I started writing book 2, I was completely lost about what had already happened, because I was so far into the story, and that was just outlining, right? Not even jumping to write a scene. So no, I don't think my brain can handle this.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those things. It's either an author does it or doesn't. Some people find that it's helpful to move around in the book, whereas most other authors that I've talked to tend to be a linear writer as well, to continue the story, stay in line with what I have going on. Thinking about the things that might cause writer's block, have any of you ever sat down and thought, this was the thing that caused me to stop writing at this point, or something frustrating happened, or whatever the case was, and then tried to avoid those things in the future, to keep writing longer? If it's something to share with people who maybe are new authors, or beginning their writing journey, things that you've experienced that may have caused you to suddenly stop or not be able to move forward with something. Let's start
Lack of sleep.
Okay, I was gonna say we'll start. Travis is actually who I was gonna start with,
No.
so that's perfect.
Lack of sleep. Like that, I don't have huge problems with writer's block. Part of that is I've been doing this for a long time and meeting like daily deadlines. But when I have trouble writing, it's almost always lack of sleep. Just I've pushed too hard. I ended up accidentally writing like 3 chapters instead of 1 in a day, and I came across a good book and I really should have put it down and went to work, but I decided to read the whole damn thing anyway. Basically, like what Demi was saying about, the physical aspects of it. Like it really is healthy body, healthy mind. And my body's unhealthy enough as it is without piling on sleep deprivation.
Okay, I'll pass it next off to Akib. How about you?
Yeah, I completely agree with all those points. Demi said previously that you need to have a healthy body, a healthy mind. You need to, it's very hard to write when you're stressed out. For example, I had writer's block for 2 years. The reason why that was because I went through a divorce about 3 years ago. So I stopped writing completely for 2 years, because I just couldn't physically write. I got my health back on track. I got my mental health back on track, and I found myself being able to write more. I could get my words out onto a page, and that's it. Healthy body, healthy mind. Just try your best to keep things together, and you should be all right. I'll pass it on now.
Sure. Demi, how about you next?
Yeah, so I mean, personal health is the most important thing. One thing that both Travis and Ali said is that when they are on the roll, they will keep writing. I stop. So sometimes I'm very, very pumped and I really want to continue, and I know that I will keep like a great tempo, let's say, like a good number of words per hour if I continue writing, but I stop because I want to. So maybe my head is excited about what I'm doing, but I know that my body will pay for it the next day. And if I can keep my head excited for the next day, hopefully this will continue. So far, it has. This was the case. So even if I want to write more, if I hit my target, I just stop. Then another thing that can lead to writer's block, or in the worst case, like burnout, is if you're writing to please somebody else. So if you are writing a series that you don't want to write, or if you are in book 3 of a failing series, and you need to write that because you need to please the fans. You don't want to stop writing a series, and you just keep writing and writing and writing something that you do not want, right? So if you're doing something you do not want, then you might as well go back to your corporate job, because what's the difference? And then there is outside stress. I mean, it's a human thing. If there is something that is stressing you from the outside, it will affect every side of your life. Who am I to advise you on that, right? But if you take care of your body and all the outside, let's say, stress factors, and you write something that you enjoy, I think you really weed out the biggest causes of writer's block. My 5 cents.
No, I think that's a great point. If you're excited about what you're writing, then it's you're eagerly attacking it rather than sitting there going, "Oh, how do I churn out these words?"
Yep, all definitely excellent points and things to be constantly thinking about is what kind of stresses you have in your life. Sean, how about you?
So I had a period of writer's block, end of August through September, beginning of October last year. And by that, I mean I was putting out half of my normal words. So it was a struggle, and each day I didn't necessarily want to do it. I paid for and took a course on strengths for writers. I'm not going to plug any particular course, but there are some out there that will help you. You find out that there's a lot of things that are different about each of us as to what fuels us. Absolutely, every human being needs sleep. So I completely agree with that. Every human being needs to have a certain level of health, but there are finer factors than that. There's some of us require greater inputs of creativity, and if we don't have that creativity being input into us, the things that we view, then we're not going to be able to output it. Others of us have different needs, like we need to have a better organizational level, and there again, I'm not qualified. I paid a coach to help me with that. It helped. It's not a 100% solution, but ultimately, one of my biggest period of writer's block was actually from when I was 17 till 46. I said I was going to write a novel. I wrote a few pages. I was nowhere near good enough. I was completely 100% convinced that anything I wrote was crap. then when I went back to it at 46 and actually wrote a novel and popped it out and had no expectation that anyone else would like it, but just did it for myself, it came out. And in 3.5 months, I wrote that novel and it ended up being published. So it took me till I was 47 to get that first book published, but you have to do it. The thing again is doing it for yourself, like Demi said, and not in believing in yourself, because at the end of the day, you don't have to be the world's greatest writer. I am a pulp fiction writer. I put out lots of words. I am not writing the great American novel. No one is going to pick up my book and say, this changed my life. But hopefully it entertained them. And that I have to just be okay with that. I don't need to be something that I'm not.
Yeah, those are absolutely excellent points.
Sean, when did you say your off months were? Because I'm looking at the spreadsheet that we have with the monthly words now, and I see that you had 100,000 words, 120,000 words on those months.
Yeah, it was September. Mostly it was September last year. So
September 22.
yeah.
146,000 words, people. That's Sean's off month.
Look, don't
Okay, well-
rag on him. Like he's got 2 books that he's actually launched during this panel. The guy's distracted.
It was a problem. It was a problem period. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
still,
I was paying somebody to help me with it. So
yeah, it's still a great point to make, though, especially when talking about writing a story specifically. I've heard it time and time and time again. If there's one thing that I've heard from more authors than anything else, it's write the story that you want. Don't write it for somebody else. Don't write it because you think it's going to sell. Don't write it because it's you're hoping it's going to be the next great American novel, like Sean said. Write it because it's something that you want to write. If you're not inspired to write it, nothing will ever come.
and by the way, I wouldn't read the next great American novel. It would be boring. I read to be entertained. So
Yeah, I thought the last one was kind of junk, so we'll see about the next one. We had a question come in from James Smith. It says, but I'm going to change it slightly. So it says, do you guys feel you write better by the ocean where you can hear the waves and the air is clean? I'm going to change that slightly to, where do you guys feel like you write the best? Sean, let's start with you this time.
okay, so I mean, my 16,000 word day was in a recliner in my bedroom. There was nothing special about it. The kids were running around downstairs. It was a Saturday. My wife was home, and I just pushed through. But what I find is that a change of environment actually helps me a lot. I booked multiple what I'm calling writers retreats. At least I'm telling the IRS they're writers retreats, so that I can get away to go to places. There's a place here in Illinois called Starved Rock where I like to go up with my wife. We hike a little bit. We have a nice dinner by the roaring fire, and then I pop out a few more chapters, and it's great time. We went down to Florida twice this year, down to the Gulf Coast there, and it was great. I wrote a couple chapters each day, and then went out on the beach and played with the kids and did all that sort of stuff. So the change of environment is bigger to me than any one individual environment.
That's definitely a very, very cool take on that. I've heard some other people say that as well, so it's really cool to think about that. Akib, how about you next?
I normally write here where I'm sitting today. This is my writing spot. To be honest, like Sean said, change of scenery is good. It normally just, like we were saying before, it clears your mind. It's a new place, and you can sit down with a clear head and get more words out. But yeah, like I normally personally, I just sit here, write. If I feel like writing somewhere else, just get a laptop, because I've got everything saved in Google Drive, so I can even open it up on my phone. If I'm sitting outside in a park, I can jot some ideas down, get a few paragraphs written out. But yeah, change the scenery. That's my 2 cents on that.
Awesome. Now, the one I'm looking forward to the most because of JD's comment earlier, Demi, how about you? Where do you find you write the best?
I honestly I don't have anything new to add to this. Just as a tip, because we can't be traveling all the time, and we are doing a job that offers us flexibility, and I think we should take advantage of that. And if we cannot travel for whatever reason, at least what works for me, right? I go to cafes. I have nice noise canceling headphones, and I find that because there are so many people there, at least I'm not distracted by it, right? I like the change in scenery. I like that people are coming and going. I like the background noise. I mean, I live in Germany, and Germany, I'm not great in German, so they don't really distract me that much. So I am more creative, or at least I can write more when I'm in cafes. And also when I'm having, because I also do sprints, I do 50-10. On my 10 minutes of break, I usually go to a local cafe, and I can, speak with the people there, have some sort of break that isn't completely solitary, which it would have been if I was at home. Also, one thing, because we use our laptop to check our sales and send emails. We use it to write. Or our PC, or we might use it to game. It's good to have at least different spots for these things. One spot for admin work, another spot for gaming, and another spot for writing. Which is why I don't use my laptop to game at all. I just play on consoles.
Very good. Very, very insightful. It's a cool idea to have the different places for the different things. I know that working from home, which is what I do now in IT, they absolutely tell you it's essential to have your workspace and then your living space, because if the two intertwine, then your lives start to intertwine, and you can't feel like you can relax when you're in the same place as other things. So it's very interesting that you bring that up. Travis, how about you? Anywhere in particular that you feel like you gain more inspiration?
No, I'm kind of the opposite of Sean in that, like, I don't like roaming around to write. I find that for me, consistency and scheduling are a big part of keeping me on track. So, same place, same routine. Like, the hours might shift around where I'm doing it in the day, but um, yeah, the consistency is something that just helps me keep moving forward. As long as I've got somewhere very close by where I can take a nap, then I'm good. Because if I go roaming, I find myself just sort of enjoying the place and getting in the rest I really should have been scheduling for myself.
How dare you?
Um, rather than sitting down and writing.
Okay,
Because
excellent.
this is a thing about writer's block, and I think scheduling is important as a method, because I was talking earlier about just sort of pushing through, and part of that is scheduling time. It doesn't have to be like the same time every day or every week, but if you make sure you slot in some time where you say, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write, and it doesn't matter if I feel crappy or whatever, as long as you're not like skipping sleep or skipping important things. I think just actually scheduling yourself some time and then sitting down and doing it is important, because you have to have fun writing, or like Demi said, you might as well go get a corporate job. But I also think, to at least a degree, you have to treat writing as a career like it's a job. Like, there are days you just have to sit down and put in the hours. And
Excellent.
I think the key is making sure you enjoy those hours.
Yeah, that's very interesting to think about those things too, to think about scheduling that time specifically.
Yeah.
Speaking about scheduling the time, do you feel like when there are when you've scheduled yourself to be in a certain place at a certain time, or whatever it is, or scheduled some time that you know is going to be blank for doing writing, but you've also, I'm pretty sure everybody's come up with some kind of deadline. If you're especially if you're going to be publishing or you're going to be having something come out, do you ever feel like the pressures from those kind of things can also cause an additional set of writer's block, or that comes on, or do you feel like it's helpful to have that kind of pressure to get things done? Akib, what about you on that?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I prefer pressure. I like setting myself deadlines and working my way towards them. It's probably one of the main reasons why I work faster, but I can get more words out in the evening, because the pressure is really building up, because I know by the end of the day I need to have that chapter done. So yeah, pressure, it does help me quite a lot.
Okay, Sean, how about you?
Again, Gen X. So I am a product of that culture that said that our value was based upon our job performance and all of those things. And yeah, if my editor were here, he would be cursing at me, because there are so many times that I have a 130,000 word book that the first 30,000 or 60,000 words get written in 3 weeks, and the last 70,000 get written in 7 days. And it's just because it's due. I have actually made final adjustments and editing notes to a book before I had to upload it to Amazon, and I had less than 60 minutes left to upload it, or my pre-order with however many hundreds or whatever, over 1,000 pre-orders was lost. So yeah, that don't do that, by the way. Absolutely don't do that. But realistically, I know this about myself. I practiced law largely that way. I was constantly jumbling this, that this is a deadline for this brief. I've got to prep for this case because we're going to trial next week. And I don't prep for it ahead of time. I prep for it right the weekend before we're going to trial. So I think you have to know different types of personalities. I also think that for me, I really thrive in that deadline kind of environment, because it feels like I'm accomplishing something, I'm knocking it out, whatever. If I could urge you to find healthier ways to do that, great. But that's who I am.
Yeah, that makes sense. And everybody is definitely different in how they handle these things. So once again, as we've said before, there's not necessarily a right and wrong, do this, do that. These are all just things that people are giving advice on how they've dealt with those things. So Demi, how about you? Do you feel like the
Yeah,
pressure's good?
I was gonna start with that everyone is a different person, and I think it's important to not do something just because you started doing something. So if you, so for example, I think that deadlines for me are a slippery slope between performance and having fun, because I know that it will push me to perform better, but I think that I will pay it afterwards in the form of getting closer to burnout. If I think of it as a burnout being kind of a spectrum, right? So at the moment, I'm trying to take it easier. I'm trying to prioritize health, prioritize all those nice things that we hear on TikTok and Instagram Reels, right? But if I see that I do not enjoy this anymore, if I see that I'm not satisfied with the result that I'm having, I try to keep myself open to trying something else, trying something closer to what Sean is doing. And I think this is the healthiest approach. Trying to find the right balance that works for you at that specific time, but also keep in mind that maybe in the future I will change, or at least I should be open to change, because we perform differently with different kinds of lifestyles and ways of thinking over the course of our lives, I think.
That's very interesting to think about, actually. If you think that not only is it individuals that are different, but you may experience different types of blocks at different times in your writing path. So what worked the first time may not work every single time you get writer's block. Maybe you did just need to clear your head and go get a nap and take a walk, or maybe it was because you were in the wrong headspace. So maybe not every single type of writer's block is exactly the same that you experience over the course of however long you've been writing for. Travis, how about you?
Yeah, I find that an amount of pressure from deadlines can be useful, but not too much. Like enough to keep me motivated, without enough to stress me out. Because, yeah, that way lies burnout. Burnout is significantly worse than writer's block. Because burnout's like writer's block forever. But I find writing serial fiction works very well for me because it gives me, just regular, manageable deadlines that I can aim for. Because if it's like, well, you need a book in 3 months, or in Sean's case, like 7 books in 3 months, but God, your output, dude. Seriously, it's so impressive. But
we should also clarify that when we say serial fiction, we don't mean like writing a book about Captain Crunch, right?
No, serial fiction where you release 1 chapter a week, or 3 chapters a week, or 5 chapters a week, or if you've foolishly signed a contract with some Chinese company, 21 chapters a week. Which is about as many as I've seen someone do. But, when you've got 3 or 5 just smaller 1 chapter deadlines in a week, it's a lot easier to go, okay, it's like any goal setting thing. It's like, you break it up into manageable chunks and it just makes it easier to handle. And I find that, for me, that is very helpful in terms of upping my productivity. Like, that sort of serial fiction schedule was the thing that got me out of procrastination and actually finishing books.
Excellent. Well, we're running a little bit low on time. So what I want to do now is go ahead and give you all one more chance to give your plugs, talk about your upcoming items, things you're excited about. And then for anybody who joined us late, and then if we have a little more time, we can take any other questions that come in there. So Aqib, I'll start off with you again.
Yeah, so next month I'm releasing Rekindle Project Book 2. I put a lot of work into it. I'm excited for the release. But I'm even more excited about the next series that I've started writing, because personally I've learned a lot with my first series. It's just these things that you can only pick up where if you go out and do it, you learn a lot of things, and you can make your next series 10 times better than what you've written previously. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and I'll pass it over.
Well, what's it called? You gotta let everybody know what it's called.
I currently don't have a name for it. It's untitled, but I will release more information as soon as I've planned that out.
All right, Travis, how about you?
Okay, well, I'm still doing my first series, so I suspect I may still be making all the horrifying mistakes. That being said, book 10 comes out November 28th of my terrible first series. Please, yeah. So, so that's basically it. It's a book. Please read.
All right, and Sean, pass it over to you.
Actually, I envy Travis in many ways, because I wish that I had one story in my head that wanted to keep going, but the voices keep fighting with each other, and I have to write different ones. So, but I admire that he has. I don't know how it was I'll tell you, when I read your series, I read it straight through, and I was like, how does he keep the longevity going? But it's amazing. It's awesome. Anyway. So what I'm excited about, November 7th, Induction, Welcome to the Multiverse, Book 1. It's a pre-post-apocalypse, meaning the apocalypse is coming, the system's coming to the world, but there's only a few people who are notified at first, and those forerunners decide the fate of Earth and the 4 other planets that Earth is competing with for a place in the multiverse. Then at the end of the month, and I think I'm going to do it on Monday the 27th instead of the 28th, because I don't want to compete with Travis. I'm going to be releasing book 1 of a new series from my pen name David Burke. That's the Crystal Core, which is a cultivation lit RPG type. Speaking of that pen name, and only since James has asked about it a couple times, War God for Hire is absolutely a completed series. There's 5 books in it, and they're all out on audio, so you don't have to worry about that, James. Other things, in December, I'll be releasing Dragon Sorcerer 4, and hopefully book 7 of my Life in Exile series, which is so funny that Travis is here because the title of that book is She Who Befriends Monsters. So just 4 more books this year.
Only.
Oh,
All right, Demi, we'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, what I'm excited about, I'm mostly excited about what's written on the whiteboard behind Travis. That's a fair thing.
no, just don't pay attention to that.
So in terms of releases, yeah, book 3 of Physics of the Apocalypse comes out tomorrow, and the audiobook for book 1 by Eric Jason Martin comes out on the 14th. My most exciting thing is this YouTube channel, because I really enjoy making these videos, and it's really, when you're making something creative but different, it kind of unlocks some things in your head, and it helps all of your creative endeavors. And one thing I wanted to add, because we joke with Sean about how much he writes, because we know Sean and we love Sean, and we admire his productivity. But like he said, those months that he did 120,000, he was struggling. And I think this is a good thing to keep in mind, that no matter how successful, how productive each of us is, we each have our own struggles, and it's good to keep it in mind. I guess, like, be kind to yourself and be kind to another person, and reach out. Yeah. I just wanted to say that, to clear it, because we're not picking on Sean. We love Sean, right?
Yeah.
We do love Sean.
By the way, I looked it up. It was October, not September, that was the bad month. Sorry.
Don't make me check the numbers now.
Making us feel a lot better. We appreciate that, Sean.
Yeah, it was 108,000. Yeah, that was a bad month.
Oh, that's shocking. That's only twice what I do.
That definitely makes people feel a lot better that it wasn't 500,000 words was his bad month. So
9,000.
Yeah, it was. I would hope it would be that, but well, but it's a really good point, Demi, that you bring up as well. Make sure that everybody, when you're considering authors, and the times that you're going through, to be kind to anyone. You never know exactly what somebody's going through, and especially be kind to yourself. I know that there's a lot of times where we get into a point where we're just self-degrading, or we feel like garbage, or whatever the case is, or we didn't get done what we wanted to get done. So remember that if you're starting out on this journey, that you're being kind to yourself as well. Give yourself the leniency that you need to get done what you want to get done. And I think the other big point takeaway from this was, write the thing that you want to write. Don't write it for somebody else, write it for yourself. And then everything comes more easily that way. So again, I want to thank all of our esteemed panelists here, Akib, Travis, Sean, Demi. You guys have been awesome. Really, really want to thank you for taking the time out. You could totally be doing something else. Like Sean could have put out 4 books during this panel if he was not with us. But you guys have been so great and so gracious to come here and spend your time with us, as well as giving one more shout out to Geneva for running this panel along with every other panel. She does an amazing job every year. I don't think she sleeps. I think she's like Chuck Norris. She just waits. So she is running all these things behind the scenes, and we applaud you for everything that you do. And thank you guys for sharing your worlds with us as well. I don't know if people say that enough to you guys. The worlds that you share really get people through some tough times. So thank you guys for that. I have hit 6 o'clock on my deal. So now we are going to do the long, awkward wave to say goodbye to everybody. There is going to be a takeover after this. And actually, it's me. I get to do the takeover after this. So hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. And thank you guys for joining us for this panel. Long, awkward pause and wave.